and resurrected. Now, no one on the planet is not aware of this. However, we do have a few people, and we might call them that, of about 328 million if they still represent themselves with that particular number. We're talking about a nation that is classifying itself as a nation. No one has yet been able to find any true documentation that will give them this honor or this respect of being a nation. No one has been able to locate that document yet. And trust me, as that nation, or the one that deems itself to be a nation called the United States of America, they must understand that, yes, everyone else, in regards to their claim, is every day looking for some proof of how they came about, how they came to be, how they became to be so well known by the rest of the world, knowing that now it has been found that all of it was nothing more than a hoax, manipulation, bribery. And everyone on the planet now is only wondering, and at the same time, wanting to figure out what caused their forefathers, if they might call them that. And I'm not talking about America. I'm talking about all the other nations. The other nations right now are trying to figure out where their grandfathers and where their grandmothers that weak in mind, where they allowed some nation to come about that didn't exist to become so powerful. Now, according to what is written in all of the books of the planet, it was said that all the nations would find themselves at a weak time, at a moment where it would allow itself to be manipulated by these would be particular, and we might call them the characters of the planet. Whereby, yes, America has been around now by its own admission for 250 years, but however, there are other documents that show that America has been around now for more than 1,000 years. Yes, and even if it might claim the 500 or 400 years, that it would somehow every now and then claim to have held the true nation of that land in slavery, held them in captivity. Did nothing more than ravish and destroy their land, stealing their would-be so-called mineral rights, their natural rights, and at the same time destroying their human rights. Now, in accordance to the word ad hoc, most of the people are just now beginning to use the word ad hoc. We noticed that a couple of celebrities around the world now are beginning to classify themselves as having ad hoc photos, and ad hoc would be so-called interviews. They're beginning to realize what ad hoc means, and people are beginning to start using it, I would say, kind of commonly now. But like everything else that we, and I said we, I'm talking about the World Global Reset Restoration Network family has brought to the planet, where everyone is beginning to finally catch on to a point where they realize that it's not only just a spoken word, it's not a fab, it's not a new age generational thing, but it is truth. And everybody's beginning to now get on board, such as the word that we use. Everybody on the planet has begun to use it, transparency. This thing, transparency, came about through my brother and myself sitting down and talking about just how everything on the planet has been perceived by the people and by mankind to be something of a secret, whereby no one has ever truly seen it. So it's been invisible to the human eye. And thereby, my brother and myself, we set out back in Y2K, known to you as Y2K. We sat back in a moment to make sure that there will be nothing again ever hidden to the people on the planet, providing that the people will open their eyes and open their ears. And so be it, the word transparency came about. No, we didn't place it in the dictionary. No, we didn't find a meaning for it to place it in a dictionary. But however, we brought it to the attention of everyone on the planet that that word did exist. And that word meant all things must be visible. All things. Not only do they have to be visible, but they have to also be audible. Visible and audible, they go hand in hand. One might realize that a blind man, normally, knowing that even though he can hear things, he has a situation where it may not be deemed a problem to him, but he's limited. He's limited to certain actions and certain things in which he will be able to accomplish, which we found to be the same problem with a man who's deaf. Even though he can see, he's still limited to a certain things that he may not be able to accomplish in a manner in which, being able to hear and see, he would be more likely to accomplish the same task in less time. The United Nations, welcome to the call, this is your call. Rise and shine. And yes, we know that the nations are rising and shining. We know that the nations are very much aware of what's going on the planet. We're watching the nations right now go through this, what we deem to be a hardship. A hardship because it put itself there. No, we're not giving excuses to any nation on the planet of why it's in or under the conditions that it is and are under, due to the fact that it put itself there. Why and how? Very simple. One of the reasons why was because it became greedy. The nations became greedy. They came to a point where they were wanting things rather than needing them. So everything they wanted, they sacrificed. They sacrificed their energy. They sacrificed their authority. They sacrificed their lives in order to get those things in which they wanted and not needed. The United Nations, as we look now, we know that all the nations can always blame themselves. But at the same time, they know exactly who they have to now go back to, restore themselves, replenish themselves, repair themselves, redeem themselves, because we paid a price for redemption for them. And now all they have to do is resurrect themselves by getting up out of the dead, as we have also breathed life back into them, called sovereignty. That's what word sovereignty comes from, along with our word transparency. So we knew exactly what we were doing. We knew well what we were doing back in 2000, when everyone was sleeping on the planet, believing that the lights was going to be turned out in the Vatican, and everyone would have to sleep a sleep of death eternally. We turned the lights back on. We set everyone free. That would have been Y2K, year 2000. And the people to this day, they still want to reject the fact that we did it, that it happened. The people still want to reflect on the fact that they themselves could have saved themselves, but they didn't. And I believe that kind of puts them in a position where a lot of them are feeling somewhat of letting themselves down, because they did nothing to protect themselves. They did nothing to save themselves. They did nothing to bring about a change whereby their lives would be built up. They let themselves fall apart. knew that according to the word of Allah, as long as we would follow the laws, everything would be fine. So we developed this system whereby we would work with everybody on the planet, for he and she, them and they, all of the people of the universe would have to come together in order to be able to save the planet from destruction. Disruption was already on the planet. It's been on the planet now for over 1,000 years. Disruption, as my host has just now told you, and I would have a question for her at this particular moment, without putting her on a spot. You know, I occasionally do this, and she does pretty well at it. So she was mentioning earlier about war, and I noticed she kept saying these illegal wars. And my question to her is, how many legal wars have there ever been?
Well, in spirit, I would say none.
Well, let me help you out. In truth, I would say none. Okay. That's in spirit and in truth. There has never, ever been a war that was a legal war. There will never be a war. Love and peace, they would say. War and peace. There will never be a war in this world or any other world to come that will be classified legal. No legal wars. However, America, the nation of America has kind of brought that to the forefront of a world that has been seeking peace now for over 1,000 years. And for some strange reason, America wants the world to believe, we would say the Western world, wants the world to believe that there is a peaceful war that's to take place, whereby everyone is supposed to follow this peaceful would-be, I guess, vigilante of a fighter. Everyone is supposed to follow them to some would-be so-called freedom and justice in order to incur or occur for fighting to bring peace on the planet. And it's supposed to be by their standards of legal war. America, if you might ask them how many legal wars have they fought, they will begin to start naming them. Civil War, the American-Spanish War. They will begin to name them. World War III, the war at Wounded Knee, the war between General Custer and Geronimo. They will start naming wars that they believe to be peaceful wars. And you have to ask yourself the question, where did they ever come off on thinking that they're fighting in legal wars when they're taking lives of people and innocent people every minute, every second of that war? Right now, you would believe that Russia is fighting an illegal war. But perhaps if you were sitting down talking to those idiots, brain-dead people in the United States so-called government, they would want you to believe that Ukraine is fighting a peaceful war, a legal war. Russia's war is illegal, but they're fighting against another nation that is fighting a legal war, illegal and legal war. And you have to ask yourself, who is the brain-dead person that's dealing with foreign affairs that truly believes in some would-be so-called legal war? Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because just recently, the Mexican president, they would call him, I say Mexico president, Presidente. He is the one that, El Presidente, he is the one that's now saying that for America to vote for someone like a DeSantis in Florida and put them in charge of their nation in 2024 as a president would be an idiot. Because he's saying that DeSantis is an idiot. And he's believing that DeSantis has no true idea or understanding about foreign affairs. He's not the only one, because listening to the United States government, they want you to believe that Donald J. Trump had no would-be experience or understanding about foreign affairs. But I'd have to tell you, going back, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, going back, George Bush, William Jefferson Clinton, going back, George Bush Sr., Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, going back all the way to George Washington, none of those people understood or had no idea what foreign affairs was about or what it was to be about. Reason being, they had no clue to domestic affairs. Domestic affairs start inside your house. They start within your area. And none of them has no knowledge of domestic affairs whatsoever, because they actually believe that there's some would-be crime in America that could be classified legal or illegal. For the crime that they commit against humanity, they want you to believe that that crime is a legal crime. But whenever they find humanity or some man stealing to feed himself so he don't starve to death, they want you to believe that that's an illegal crime, illegal. But their crime, to steal from him, that he won't be able to feed himself, they will classify that as being a legal crime. So they have no clue about foreign or domestic affairs. Fact must remain, because that's why they have not, up to this point, been transparent with what they have done in the past. Neither will they be transparent with what their plans are for the future. Which brings you back to sovereignty. They do not recognize sovereignty on the planet, period. However, they will claim that they have a sovereignty. The problem is that they don't explain to you that sovereignty has everything to do with the breath of life. Every individual has this breath of life. Everything has this breath of life. That's when they fall short of telling you that if you want to exercise your sovereignty right, it becomes illegal. But when they're wanting to exercise their sovereignty right, it becomes legal. Illegal for you, legal for them. Now, knowing that they have been in control of a system now for over 1,000 years, because it's right there in your Holy Scriptures, if you might be those who read the Holy Scriptures, they have any indication that the Holy Scriptures is also a standard history book of truth. Only then will you be able to recognize what your place is on this planet. The truth of the matter must remain that, yes, every nation is still doing a very good job at nothing more than investigating. They're also doing nothing more than reviewing They're doing nothing more than making sure that they collaborate with one another to find out if America is truly a nation for legality to take place on the planet for anybody or anything. So far, they'll watch America try to come up with laws to protect animal rights. You know why? Because America, the so-called system, domestic system of America has been so cruel to animals. The buffalo. Yeah, one they keep calling the bison. The buffalo. A renaissance in America was, once upon a time in that land, he was the ideal symbol of freedom and strength. Only to have to give away to a bird of the air that America comes along in that same land to classify him as being strength and courage, nothing more than an eagle. One which will also eat dead prey. You won't find a buffalo eating dead prey, but an eagle you will. Stay with me. I'm only clearing up some things here because, to be transparent, we still have this general area of what they deem themselves to be the United States of America, which is the most closed-up nation that could ever be on the planet, even though it's calling other would-be nations, third-world nations, and they call them behind iron curtains and iron walls, and they're calling them behind secrecy, when America is the only nation that's ever been behind walls of secrecy. Nations now are just now getting the truth about America to recognize the nation of America, as it was built upon slavery, killing human beings, murdering them, torturing them. So America now feels more guilt than it does innocence, based upon the fact that that's why they're so concerned about animal rights over human rights. The buffalo, the bison in America, once upon a time outnumbered every people on the planet by at least 100 to 1, which would have been enough if one had used them as nothing more than a way to survive, to maintain not becoming one that was starved from hunger. They were numbered about 100 to 1, only to find themselves now being those that could easily go extinct if more than 2 of them is killed a year. All because of this so-called world of Anglo-Saxon world of the United States of America, which slaughtered the bison, slaughtered the buffalo. For no reason whatsoever. They wasn't doing it to eat. They wasn't doing it to even, if they might say, discover them. They wasn't doing it in order that they might be able to survive against them. Because there was no attack from the buffalo upon humans. There was no attack from the buffalo definitely on those white men that found themselves stealing their way into the United world, in which they call the United States now. There was another attack by the buffalo. No herds were stampeding, no white would-be community. But the European white man, he decided he was going to exterminate all the buffaloes. Why? Because he was in fear of them. They were big, black, and wore horns, and their coats in which they had was very curly and furry. And things like that he becomes very fearful of. So he began to exterminate them one by one, catching them in herds when they were lying down asleep at night, and exterminating them. So yes, he feels guilty now. So you would hear America now constantly talk about animal rights and animal cruelty. They want you now to take every dog off the streets, every dog that's in the prairie. They want you to take all the dogs now and give them winter coats and give them summer would-be so-called slacks that they can lay around their house and eating snacks all day long. Working dogs like the German Shepherd, that's a working dog. A boxer, that's a working dog. Those dogs were on the planet, put there by God to be working dogs. Working dogs, I didn't say slaving dogs, I said working dogs. There's a difference. But America has domesticated them, they were classified, knowing that they have no idea what domestic affairs is all about. One might say they whittled them down rather than domesticated them. To a point right now, a dog won't even guard his own food. He will lie there while birds come out of the trees and eat up his dog food. He won't move a muscle. Because he's not used to being outside. He's still having a problem identifying birds. He don't know if a bird's a cat or if a bird's another dog with wings. He has no clue because he's been that much dumbed down and domesticated. Cats once roamed the night hunting for food, like your lions, like those of your leopards, and like those of your panther. Cats used to roam the night doing the exact same thing. And they will do it inside your house. Those of them that still know that they're extinct every now and then rouses them, and they will come to bite your face off sometime at night, and you think they're only trying to play with you. No, they're actually trying to nibble on you because that's their instinct. And just because you can overpower them by pushing them off the bed or throwing them into a room to lock them up until you finish sleeping before they find some way of tearing half your face off, you're thinking that they're just the old kitty. Stay with me. You people just don't get it. You don't get it. You know, my father gave you the brilliancy of being the most intelligent beast of the planet, and you have turned out to be so ignorant. And arrogant at that. You don't want anyone to tell you that you're ignorant. You don't want anyone to show you your weakness. But you just want to believe that you're all so strong. United Nations. America has an assistant dumbed down the whole planet. And right now, they're talking about a debt ceiling. And you know something? They're talking about getting a $1.some trillion. They're even asking for more, $1 trillion to maintain their so-called would-be slow, active world of destroying humankind, mankind. Not going to happen. Let me help you out right now. The reason America is so rushed to believe that they're going to get along, because they now believe that they're going to find some other nation, perhaps like Ukraine, that's going to be able to give them another $1.1 trillion loan. While they're claiming to be loaning money to Ukraine, they're really going to be trying to use Ukraine as a loan system for themselves. They want everybody to give aid to Ukraine, whereby the more and more that aid from everyone else stacks up around Ukraine, America will begin to borrow credit on it. Stay with me. I know a lot of nations have already figured it out. A lot of nations already know that. That's why a lot of nations have backed off from even helping Ukraine. That's why a lot of nations now are knowing that Ukraine has already lost the war. And working through a proxy law of dealing with the United States of America. They're claiming victory in places only to gain more with the support, where that support would come in, where America right now is in dying need of a loan to be able to survive there with the world of perishing away as a nation. They're going to perish. Reason being is because back in would have been 2000, we informed the whole world. I'm talking about the World Global Reset, Restoration Network family. We informed the whole world that America has been getting a loan from all 198 nations and itself has never yet ever been authorized to be a nation. But they've been getting loans from 198 nations. They owe 198 nations. And right now, they're looking for some nation out there to claim itself as the nation that's going to give them a $1.some trillion loan so they can try to circumvent the situation that they have to go around the loans in which they were receiving back during the day. And I have to be honest with you, my grandfathers, my great-great-grandfathers, I love them. But because they allowed themselves to get in fights with one another, brothers against brothers, uncles against nephews, daddies against sons, they began to allow themselves, for one of them, to start loaning these idiots just all of this money because he just wanted to make them believe and make out them to understand that he would make them more loyal than the other brother. And they fell for it. I can assure you now, all those times for your marriage is over with. It's over. I don't care. You need to understand. You're never going to be able to put me and my brother against each other. I'm talking about the numbers in the letters. I don't care what you do. I don't care how many ugly females you send with faces that's been tattooed with some makeup to make them look half decent like you think that's going to work. It's not going to work. Not going to happen. First of all, I know the numbers as well as he knows the letters. I can care the less about your world of that, which you have deemed to be some so-called would-be relationship between man and woman. I can care the less. It either works or it don't work. For me, I need you to understand I'm not threatened by it. Neither will I be pressured by it. I can care the less. I don't care how pretty she is. I don't care how nice she is. I don't care how well she can cook. I don't care what she dressed like. I need you to understand she's not worthy enough for me, to violate what my father sent me here to do. And I really don't care if she decides that she either wants to give my brother or me. I don't care. It's not enough to bother me. She can't give me honor. She can't give me any authority. She can't give me any respect that I don't already have. I'm helping you out so you understand that even if you sent a faggot, even if one of us or one of those that you believe to be transgender, your faggot wouldn't be able to get past my father's command and why we're here. So don't waste your time. My brother will tell you as well as I'm saying to you, we are both homicidal, not homophobic. We are homicidal, both of us. I talked to him. He understands homicidal as well as I do. We have been down to your DOJ, your Department of Justice, talking to them about us making that statement. Is it a threat? You take it for what it's worth. I guarantee if you come on to me in this room, you're going to find out it's not a threat. It's a promise. I'll make you use your badge. I'll make you use your weapon. I'm going to make you do what you say you're going to do to me. You kill me, I'm going to destroy you. It's one or the other. Because I don't care anything about you talking about some so-called would-be threat. It's a promise. They're listening now. United Nations, they're listening. Everything I say is a promise. No threat intended. If you think that my father is Lucifer, then send me back to hell. And if you're afraid that my father is Allah, God of the universe, then send me back to heaven. But if you mess with me, I'm going to show you what's going to happen. Promise. Dying is only an aspect of living. You don't live, you don't die. You don't die, you don't live. You can't live and not die. You cannot die and not have ever lived. Don't play games. Get it right. No threat intended. Promise. I'm speaking this matter because America is under this so-called would-be, I would say, mirage of living and life beliefs. That it thinks for one moment that everyone on the planet hasn't already figured them out. We told them, America, I told them in case you need someone to blame. You have been borrowing money from Canada. On the so-called would-be